I remember when I first got there, because I still had American money, and we'd go to the banks over there to exchange the money for the Samoan currency they have. And I remember at the time when we were exchanging money, I think the ratio for the U.S. dollar was $1 for 3 Samoan dollars. And I remember that I was like, wow, that's a lot. That's a good exchange rate here for, especially for us missionaries coming from the States to serve in Samoa. And as a missionary, you'll get we get the monthly allowance that we use for food or laundry supplies and or transportation to get us there. And I remember that the mission fund, or the monthly allowance that we would get, I think it was maybe $30 Samoa money, and which would be $10 American. And I was like, how are we going to survive off that much money? And to come to think about it, there's different things that you can do. The people have their plantation, and there's acres of plantation that they have, where they have their taro, and they have there's pineapples, mangoes, and things like that. And there's places in the market where they sell them for super cheap. And they're just trying to help themselves out to maybe get money for a bus fare, or to go see maybe family members on another island. And the cost of living there is so low. There's some families that don't even, they don't have jobs to earn money, or they don't earn money at all. I remember serving in the backside of Sava'i, because you grow up in a village where your family name is there, and in order to own a piece of land, you have to be at least half Samoan. And so it's interesting to see that different families, that you can tell where their last name comes from, what village that comes from. And I remember when in Sava'i, because my grandpa's took over the last name Aloy, and Aloy is a chief name out there in the village of Samata. And so when I had a chance to serve in Samata, and people would always give me these weird looks, because they'd look at my name tag and realize, that's a chief last name in our village. What are you doing here? And I had no idea what I was doing there. And I remember I met with a stake president who gave me a background about that knowledge of my last name and where it came from. And I remember at the time I was only maybe 3 or 4 months out, still learning the language, trying to grasp a basic knowledge of it. And I remember sitting there talking to the stake president, just praying that I would understand what he was trying to tell me. And as clear as day, I could understand just the basic of that family work that was related to my last name. And going back to my patriarchal blessing, I knew that I was meant to be in this area at this time to learn that. And I actually got to meet a couple of my relatives, one of my dad's uncles who isn't a member of the church, and I was able to help teach him a little bit about the church. He was mostly shocked that I was here in Samoa, and it's crazy to see how God puts you in these positions to fulfill His work. You may question it at some times. I know I did, especially being in that area when everybody was looking at me kind of weird. It's crazy to see how things happen in the Lord's work. And the people out there, they're really independent. They really like to work on their own, and they definitely have teamwork skills where they'll work together on their plantation and things like that. But yeah, the cost of living out there, they just go by that saying, we can live off the land. We don't need money to bring us happiness. They're more family-based, work hard to keep that culture going. When I was in the back island, from Neafu to the market, which was in town by the wharf, I remember the bus fare cost about, I think it was $3 to $5, depending on which village you were in, and Samoan money, so about $1 something for U.S. currency. I remember about 2 pounds of rice out there was about $3.50. Because I mean they do love rice, but it's sort of a expensive import that they have. They don't have a lot of rice out there. I do remember every time for P Day, a lot of missionaries would like to go to McDonald's, and seeing the McDonald's menu out there compared to what it is here was insane. I remember for like a Big Mac meal, the total price was $20, and I couldn't believe that. And that's $20 American. So I was astounded on how much people would go to buy fast food, especially McDonald's. But it is definitely cheaper to buy in the markets. Bananas would, you could buy them for the bunch for a couple dollars here and there, and mangoes and pineapples for cents or dollars at a time. So I mean, the people, they could charge more definitely for those things, but they don't like to overcharge. I know there's in certain markets they'll sell different materials to make clothing out of, and you think they'd be expensive because it's a long piece of cloth, but they would sell them for cents or maybe $1 per couple 100 feet for things they were willing to give up. So I mean, they're more just willing to help out. But yeah, definitely in the market, I would say, I never saw anything drastically over than $20, unless it was sort of like a souvenir or a type of gift. Well, most of the time I lived in missionary homes. It's kind of different because there's certain areas where there's missionary homes, just a little, 2-room building that they built on the church chapel properties. So it was kind of different living on the church grounds, because they have it's almost like a shed that you'd see in your backyard here, that you'd see a random shed just in the back of the chapels, and that's where the missionaries would live. And I was grateful for that because the mission paid for that. We didn't have to pay rent. But families that we did stay with, their electricity is run on cash power, where they would buy cash power points or card or time limits and put a code in on their little box that they would have, their electricity box, and that electricity would last for however many hours that they bought. And so there was no monthly payments or things like that for rent or utilities or electricity, because it's different. It's like they have an expiration date on when the power is going to run out, and then they just have to renew it every so often or how long. And they really do save their money by not wasting electricity all the time. A lot of them will use fires as light at night, and some of them have flashlights as well. So they always want to try and conserve that energy or that cash power that they use out there. And it was interesting to see that. I remember a family that we were staying with, they would use the term, buy us electricity. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And my companion had to explain to me that we would go buy these cards, cash power cards that they could put in to their system, their little box that would, make that electricity last for days or months at a time. So it was interesting there, but we would usually pay families around 100 tala, or I guess that would be around $30-40 American a month for families that we stayed with.